Oh, how much snow did you get, Carol?
Dee, I got almost 5 inches of snow Monday night and Tuesday.
I saw 3 flakes today.
Snow or otherwise?
Snow, well, maybe some of both, but it was snow. I'm going to move my microphone closer to my face, so the beginning of that may be really low.
Do we want to start over, Dee, or
I
just?
think we should. I think we should start
You
over,
know what?
Carol.
That's the charm of us is that we let the mistakes roll and we just keep going. And if you got your hair fixed, everything's good now. We're going to keep this, Dee. We're going to march on, and you are getting us started.
Welcome to the Garden Angelist, where we chat about flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I'm Dee Nash from Guthrie, Oklahoma, where I still have a large garden out in the country.
And I'm Carol Michael from Indianapolis, Indiana. I have a suburban garden measured in square feet. It's about a third of an acre.
We are Garden Angelists because we love gardening and we want you to love it too.
Yes, we do. And we aren't afraid to spill all of our gardening secrets, the good ones, the bad ones, and even those ugly ones. But let's move on to this week's episode. Good afternoon, Dee. We are back on Sunday.
Yes, because something happened on Friday. I don't remember what it was.
I sent you a text and I said, ready to record this morning. And you responded back with, oh, which I knew meant we were moving to Sunday.
Oh, things have been a little stressful in my world. So I forget what day it is. All right. So moving on to our garden updates.
So since we recorded the podcast last Sunday, the fence guys have come. They have, and I'll call it 90% finished with the fence. There's still a few touch-up things to do, but in the snow and everything and the cold. And anyway, that's that. That's basically it.
In the paving world, we call that a punch list. They still have a punch list.
They still have a punch list. Though I did read, this is kind of an interesting thing I read this morning on a Substack. And it was about people who do those cold plunges. Yeah. And they said there's something about a cold plunge that like changes your body biochemistry and makes you like think sharper and things like that. And that's why people do that.
That seems horrible to me, but okay.
Yeah, it seems horrible to me, but like being outside in the cold makes you, it sharpens your senses or something.
Now, I don't mind being outside in the cold, like if I'm walking and I have a jacket on. I'm cool with that, but there's no way I'm going to plunge this body into cold water.
Anyway, other than that, I mean, I do have exciting news about my little moth orchid, Dee.
I'd love to hear it.
It has a flower shoot on it, a bloom, a blossom coming out. That's awesome. I've been eyeing it for a couple of weeks thinking, I know that's a flower. I know that's a flower stalk. I know that's a flower stalk. Right. And it is.
Nice.
So, anyway.
I need to go out to my greenhouse. That could be part of my garden update. So here in Oklahoma, it's been really cold, like really cold. And so there's not much to update garden-wise. I need, I water the plants inside and out. That's about it. The end.
The end.
Okay. Yeah. Because the next part is going to be, okay. So next week is supposed to be nice. So maybe gardening will happen.
It's going to be cold. Gardening is not going to happen.
It's going to be 60 degrees here on Wednesday.
So I would love that. I did not see that for Indiana. Anyway, let's do our favorites because I have something to show you when you talk about your favorite.
Okay. I'll do mine first. Mine are the American wisterias. So I have a wisteria frutescens, and then I have a wisteria, can't remember the name of it, macrophylla. Oh, you have, okay. Mine are American wisterias. Is that an American one?
This is American wisteria. For those who are only listening, I'm holding up a piece of the wisteria that I cut back, and it was so twisty and interesting that I thought I'm just going to keep that and let it dry out. And it just kind of sits by my TV, and I'm thinking, that's kind of cool.
That's really cool. And that's why it's my favorite. I was looking at it outside and I thought, it is so beautiful when the leaves fall off because there's all this twisting and turning. So there you go.
It's like my secret gardener's magic wand.
There you go. Kind of like Harry Potter, but gardener-wise.
Exactly. I'll take a picture of it for the newsletter because we're sadly lacking in beautiful garden photos unless we go back to summer. So yeah, we'll take a picture of my wisteria vine piece.
Yeah, and I'll take a picture of the actual vines and we'll have both of those. All right. So what is yours?
So I'm gonna copy you from last week. It really is those wax amaryllis bulbs that I got at Costco.
Yeah,
They are all starting to show buds. Not all of them, but the first ones I bought are starting to show buds and stuff. And so I'm hopeful that some of them will be blooming at Christmas time. But I really do like them. I really do like them.
I like them too, and I didn't like them when they first came out, but now I'm like, yeah, those are awesome because you really
Yeah.
just don't have to do anything, and that's honestly in this season that's kind of nice. Although in my garden updates, I'll share something else. I also am looking outside, and one of my roses, it would be Sophie's rose. I almost said Sophie's Choice, but that's a movie. It has beautiful orange new growth on it. So we should have a picture of that from the newsletter.
Yeah.
It's up against the house and it's on the east side and it's got orange. Yeah, it's weird. All right. So, question of the week. And you came up with this one. Shall I ask it?
Yes, we got this as a text from one of our listeners.
Yes, that's right. We did. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Ask it. What about root washing before planting? Is there a benefit? It seems traumatic to the tree or shrub. And that came from someone in Springfield, Missouri, which is right over by where my grandparents lived in Aurora.
Yes.
All right. So from the garden professors, what did they say, Carol?
They said, yes, root washing, we're not talking about balled and burlap, I don't think. We're talking about ones that are grown in a container. And they said there is a benefit to root washing because you can see if the roots have gotten tangled or twisted, you can kind of fix that before you plant it. And then there's another site called Garden Myths, and they also suggest that root washing is a perfectly fine thing to do. And then another reason to do root washing, at least in, I think, Wisconsin especially, and maybe more so in Indiana than you think, is that by washing away the soil, you can get rid of any Asian jumping worms that might be a concern that have crept in there from the nursery.
Yeah.
So you'd want to wash that dirt and then toss it, not wash the dirt and throw it on your compost pile.
Wash and toss.
Yeah. And if you think about it, like a lot of roses come bare root. A lot of fruit trees come bare root. They're wrapped in like a moss or core or something like that to keep them moist. So yes, I think root washing is perfectly acceptable and does have some benefit. And we'll link to garden professors. I have done it occasionally. I will say that I'm not great about doing it. For example, I have not done it with like hostas or perennials, but I think for shrubs and things like that, it is probably a pretty good idea.
Huh. Okay. So that takes us to insect of the week, and you picked the insect of the week, and I don't think I know what this insect is, so I'm going to look at it.
So you go look at it.
Oh,
so
I know what it is. Yeah.
I picked the buffalo tree hopper, which is it's not an aphid, but it looks like a aphid, but with a big hunchback. And it's just really cute. And so when we were in college taking entomology classes, for some reason I decided that was my new favorite insect. And so every once in a while, little kids will start talking about insects or something. They just discovered the world of entomology. And I'm like, do you know my favorite insect? And it's like, it's the buffalo tree hopper.
I have to say the nymph is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The baby, because it has all those hair-looking things on its back. And
yes.
It's kind of a wild-looking creature, like something out of a apocalyptic movie or something. If it's
like a green. If you turned a buffalo into an insect, it would be the buffalo tree hopper.
And it have wings.
And it is a pest on certain crops and things, but honestly, the only time I've ever seen it was on a red bud, and it's supposedly a pest of red buds, but I've never seen enough of it to know. But anyway.
I don't know if I've ever seen one.
That's a trivia question. What is Carol's favorite insect? The buffalo tree hopper.
Okay. So
next week, can we talk about your favorite insect?
I was sitting here thinking, do I have a favorite insect?
Yes, you do.
I do.
The monarch butterfly.
I love monarch butterflies, but I also really love lady beetles. So
see, you have two favorites vying for each other. So between now and next week, you must make a decision.
Oh, you're so funny. How about you do that quote?
The holly is a very beautiful tree, answered Miss Balfour, but very prickly. Not the top branches where they are out of reach, and then the leaves are such a deep, glossy green, and the berries are so gay, and the little white flowers are so pure and fresh. Miss Balfour was speaking in quite an animated way, as if the subject really interested her.
Okay.
I got that. Dee, I read a book. I read a book.
You didn't tell me. You didn't tell us what book it was from.
It's a book called Near Neighbors by Molly Claverley, written in 1956. It takes place in Edinburgh, Scotland. And Miss Balfour is a spinster lady who lives next door to a family of 5 children. And the 5 girls are all named after trees: Willow, Holly, Hazel, and Rowan.
Oh, that's cool.
So anyway, and there's one brother, Murray. So anyway, I saw that quote and I thought, you know what? That's
We're
just
gonna
goofy
use
enough
it.
for the podcast.
Well, it goes with our flowers this week.
It does. That's what it was. It goes with our theme for the flowers. Tell us about the theme,
There you
Dee.
go. So last week we talked about Christmas plants for indoors, but this week we decided we would talk about what is pretty to grow outdoors in the wintertime. And there's many things, but you came up with like 3, I think, maybe 2.
Maybe. Yeah, I
No,
came up with
there's
4.
definitely, no, there's 4. So what is our first contender?
The first contender has to be Helleborus niger, the Christmas rose, which is about the only thing that I can think of other than possibly snowdrops that are going to be blooming in this kind of weather. And blooming
Right.
is, let's put air quotes around blooming.
Yeah.
There were a few flowers that showed up in November. They're
Mhm.
still there, but nothing new is really going to show up until February. So blooming
No.
is air quotes.
Yeah, they aren't doing much blooming. But Helleborus niger is not to be confused with Helleborus hybrids, which are the Lenten rose. So there's the
Yes.
Christmas rose and the Lenten rose, and they are not roses; they're Hellebores, and we like
Yes.
Hellebores a great deal. In
so-
fact, I suggest them for shade gardens here all the time.
Yes, because even if you have just Lenten roses, they have that nice dark green glossy foliage that will be there all winter. So that is nice in the wintertime.
Yep.
But Helleborus niger, a lot of the old time postcards and old time Christmas decorations had Helleborus niger on them. And many people today don't recognize that it's a distinct flower from roses.
Yeah, it has a very distinctive look and they're very pretty. And they bloom for a really long time.
They do. And
so that's
I,
nice too.
of course, am on my lookout now for Helleborus niger at the grocery store or the wherever to buy. And then
I looked today at Lowe's. They didn't have any because I bought some little rocks to top off my stuff I'm going to do in my
I hope to
garden
have some by
commission.
next week's podcast because I have to go north for garden club. And there is a Trader Joe's up there, and Trader Joe's almost always has them. So, and I think I go
I
right
should
by
go by
Trader
Joe's this week.
I think I go
should.
right by it on my way to the
I
restaurant. we're
don't
going
go
to.
in town where Trader Joe's is very often because
Me neither.
I have some really nice stores in Edmond, but I should go. They really have some beautiful things. So wonderful plants. Also, deer don't eat them.
Yay, yay, yay.
Yay. Okay, the next one is cornice.
Redtwood dogwood.
Yeah, the cornices. Sericea? Is it Sericea?
I would say
Sericea?
Sericea.
Yeah.
Now, when I was in college, I do believe that it had another species name.
I get it too.
But that's what I chose those links off the Missouri Botanical Garden. They
So
know
they
better
should
than
know.
I. They should know better than I. But red twig and yellow twig dogwoods are great.
They're beautiful
adding-
winter plants.
Yes, they add winter interest way out in the garden because of red twigs and yellow twigs. A lot of people will cut them and put them into holiday displays, like pots in the garden that they've decorated
Mhm.
for the holidays. And they also benefit from, you can cut back the oldest stems in late winter,
Well, you
early
should.
spring.
You
Yes.
should cut them back because they turn kind of a gray color and they no longer have that bold red color. And so you really want to take them.
Yes.
In fact, some people rehab the whole shrub every 3 to 5 years, but
Yes, this is one you can just cut the dickens out of it and it'll just come right back up. So
I just cut it back and then, now they can be really, really aggressive in certain states. A lady sent me a picture, one of my garden clients, from somewhere up north. I don't know where she was exactly. And she said, "What are these? They're in this yard," which is always funny because my garden coaching clients think I know where they are at all. You know what I mean? I was
right.
like, where
Like you
are
drove
you?
around and know where everything is.
Yeah, I don't. She was way up north somewhere. I think Wisconsin, but I could be wrong. And I said, that's red twig dogwood. And she goes, oh, I don't think so. Because she goes, look at it. It's everywhere. And I said, that's red twig dogwood. And I said,
Well,
go look it up.
I kind of missed an opportunity because I have I think it's called high bush honeysuckle. It's the Dervilla in my front
Villa.
garden.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very boring stems. It is a great hiding place for birds all winter.
Yep.
I should have planted like red twig dogwood there and then just cut it back because it's a creeper as well. But anyway.
Takes a long time.
Yeah.
I'm watching the birds at the bird feeder.
I kind of think that this particular dogwood, and I have to look it up because I'm speaking extemporaneously. Yeah, that word. Just seems like the dogwood anthracnose that they are particularly susceptible to that, and so they do occasionally have that problem.
Yeah, I don't remember if the red twigs have it or not, but some of the others do. Yeah, so I don't know. Anyway, so the color is more beautiful in the cold weather. So if you don't get good cold weather, you're not going to have as much color. And I've had the best luck with the yellow one. And also I have some yellow ones. And then I also have a couple of red ones. Now, I tried growing the variegated red. It just didn't do well here. It had variegated leaves and it just burned. And then I tried
that may be the problem I had. I was trying a variegated variety. Thank you, Dee. That might have been it. They just got.
Yeah. Variegated plants are typically not as strong as straight species type.
And they often don't like full sun.
They hate full sun usually. And then I tried one of the really fancy varieties that had kind of between red and yellow that came out at some point. It was a big downer too.
So between red and yellow, is it orange?
Yeah, it's orange.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that was another one for winter interest.
Yeah. So grow the plain red and the plain yellow. They're both really good. The yellow is more aggressive than the red. All right. Next, hollies. I used to have a bunch of hollies, and then this fire happened. And I burned them up, and that was the end of them. And it's okay. You want to know why it's okay?
Because
they used to stick me, and I'd have to go under them and clear out the leaves and stuff. And now I have a nice, soft Hicks U in that spot instead. And I gotta say, much happier with it. I'll be honest.
Now, we didn't list any particular variety, but these are all the ilex. And I have a holly over there around my red maple in the front yard, and it does okay. It is the slowest growing thing, and it's one of those ones that has, I don't know if through grafting or whatever, but it has male and female flowers on the same plant. Because normally hollies are dioecious, so you have to buy like a bunch of female plants and at least one male plant in order to cross pollinate, or else you will not get the red berries.
Nope, you will not get
them. And
I
do get red berries, and I think, oh, you know what? I should cut something, and I don't know what I would do with it once it was cut, but okay. Anyway, the other thing it says is that birds will sometimes eat the berries if other food is scarce. So I guess they're not the tastiest ones.
Well, no, because, they have bitterness to them.
Yes.
Hence vomitoria.
Ilex vomitoria. We've talked about that in the past. So this is one I think you can't really think about holiday decorations without thinking about holly. So we put it on the list.
And it also is often on old plates and things like that.
Sure.
In fact, I have an old plate that I put out at Christmas time. It has hollies and it also has Hellebores on it.
You must take a picture of said plate for our newsletter.
I'll see if I can find it. I think
there you go. And then the last thing I came up with is just like this all-encompassing group of what I call fancy evergreens. Have you ever looked at the Conifer Society site or known anybody in the Conifer Society?
No, there are not a lot of conifers in Oklahoma, but there are there are a few evergreens we can grow here.
I know some people in the American Conifer Society, and the next thing you know, they have got so many different varieties of conifers, golden cypresses, blue gray spruces, weeping forms, dwarf varieties. And in the wintertime, a lot of these will show their best color when it gets cold.
They do.
They kind of sit there all summer looking sort of normal. And then in the wintertime, especially if you get snow on the ground like we've had, they kind of pop.
Yeah.
Get some
My
bronzy.
Arizona cypress looks pretty good right now.
And there you go.
Bless its heart. I'm looking at it out the window. It is, it is a challenged little tree here. It has a hard time, but it's hanging in there.
And nothing holds snow like evergreens, right?
Right. It's just hard to have them in Oklahoma. That's the first. I mean, Nellie Stevens hollies, people grow those, but there just aren't a lot of evergreens that do well. Anything in the juniper series
Yeah.
because Eastern red cedars.
Well, as some of my friends in the Conifer Society will say, many evergreens do quite nicely in Indiana, and they have tons of them. They are collectors. They are collectors of conifers. So there are other winter plants, and we talked about that winter gardening book a while back, and the author escapes me, but we should put a link to his book again if people are interested, because he did a fantastic job. We got it last January, I think.
Maybe. Yeah, and I don't know where it is. I mean,
he did a fantastic job of photographing some of these plants in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And how they could be used. And it took a lot of patience to put that book together. And so people that like our interest is heightened in winter gardening now, the time to plant for it is when you're planting in spring and fall. So there you go.
Sure. Okay. I'm going to do the quote.
Yes, ma'am.
Vegetables are the soul's food, the poet's inspiration, and the chef's canvas. And that's by Terry, and I'm going to say Guillemette. I don't know if that's pronounced right. It's the best I can do. All right, vegetables. You wanted me to come up with some cookbooks that were just about vegetables, and I came up with 2 that are my favorites. Good. And these 2 are pretty wonderful. We're going to start with 6 Seasons, because this guy is a chef, and he lives and works on a farm. And so he gets very good fresh produce. And his big thing is that we have 6 seasons instead of 4. Because
so that is interesting. Seasons. Now hold that book up. Mm-hmm. Show us the spine. 6 Seasons, A New Way with Vegetables by Joshua McFadden. Has to be 1.5 inches thick.
It's very thick. Yeah. And
that is beautifully, and it's like The Chef's Garden by Farmer Lee Jones.
It's not quite as big as The Chef's Garden, but it's pretty big. And he does kind of the same thing, like so season 3 is midsummer instead of just summer, right? And he just, it's beautifully photographed, harvesting vegetables.
Gosh,
a friend suggested this to me a long time ago. But it's funny because he doesn't live here. He lives, I'm trying to remember where he lives. This book won a ton of awards.
It says it's a James Beard Award for Best Book in Vegetable Focused Cooking, named a Best Cookbook of the Year by Wall Street Journal, The Atlantic, Bon Appetit, Food Magazine, Every Day with Rachel, la 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 la.
Yeah, it just goes on and on and on.
It does.
But here's the thing. He has broccoli in midsummer. So he doesn't live where I live because broccoli is a winter vegetable.
Yeah, you keep talking about it. I'll figure out where he lives.
And then he has some stuff about like his fried. I mean, this is not a book for somebody who's never cooked before. This is a book for somebody who really loves vegetables and really wants to work on making interesting versions of it. But one of my favorites in here is the corn and tomato salad with torn croutons. I'm going to show it to you.
Very nice. Now he's got a new book that came out this fall, 6 Seasons of Pasta.
Oh, but that's good too.
Yes.
Because then I'll have vegetables with his pasta. He just does some amazing things and talks about beans on toast, and just the food is beautiful. And no, this is not a completely vegetarian cookbook because there are mussels and sausage. In fact, this one is celery, sausage, provolone, olives, and pickled peppers. But the vegetables are the stars. And so there's just some really beautiful things in here. And I've made several of his recipes and I really love them. Like he has one called Onions 3 Ways with unja on grilled bread. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it looks really good too.
So I know where he lives.
Where?
Beyond the kitchen, Joshua is restoring Bernie Farm, a 50-acre property in Springdale, Oregon. Hence
so that explains it.
That explains why he's getting broccoli in the middle of summer.
Yeah, so that's the first one. And then the second one is this one, which we've talked about before. And this is Nigel Slater, and it's called Tender, A Cook in His Vegetable Patch. And he's in England. And Nigel is a gardener, and he started growing, well, he's really a chef. And he started growing a vegetable garden, fell in love with it, and then really featured the vegetables from his garden in it. And so there's also, in addition to recipes, there's also gardening advice. But it's gardening advice in England, so you just have to keep that in mind. And like he talks about chard, like there's a whole chapter on chard, my least favorite of the leafy greens, personally.
Uh-huh.
But, and he always starts with like discussing the actual thing, like right here.
Nice.
He discusses it. And then he always, and this one has holes in the leaves. I don't know if you noticed. So it's an organic garden, right? He filmed it with holes, which is cool. And then he talks about how to grow it, varieties he likes. So it's also a gardening book. And then he starts talking about recipes. And I have to say, some of these recipes would make you want to eat chard. So there you go.
There you go. Well, those are two excellent choices, Dee.
Beautiful.
And it's interesting.
Books.
Both of them are chefs, but they have gone to the garden, as they say.
They have gone to the garden, and it's made them better chefs, is what they would tell you.
Do you remember when we were in Chicago for?
Yes. How will I ever forget that, girlfriend? How?
I don't know how.
Don't you think that was one of the most memorable? Maybe because it was our first.
It was our second one.
It was our second. I was our second bloggers fling, but it was really one of our first big trips.
Yeah, but we went to that one chef's garden behind
Bayless.
Yes.
He's from Oklahoma. That's originally.
And he had a gardener that was doing a lot of the growing, but they had those huge raised beds full of vegetables, lots of greens and things. And we were there in May. So lots of greens and things that he was taking right to his restaurants. And
nice.
And
just and trying things out and different varieties. And he cooked at home, and it was partly his TV show. And yeah, I'll never forget that. We had to pay money to get in there. I remember that too. It was like $20 a piece or something.
No
or
way.
10. And we were all like, oh, okay. But it was great. And actually I ended up using the photos in talks for quite a while. And I would always say it was his garden,
Yeah.
So
I don't know where my photos of that have gone. They're probably
who knows where they are now.
Yeah.
All right. So I did my job.
You did. You did an excellent job. Those are two great choices for cooking with vegetables.
And growing them.
I will do a quote and we'll go to the bookshelf.
Sounds good.
I declare, after all, there is no enjoyment like reading. How much sooner one tires of anything than of a book. When I have a house of my own, I shall be miserable if I have not an excellent library. And that is Jane Austen in Pride and Prejudice. And I stuck that on there because her birthday anniversary is December 16th, 1775, 250 years.
Wow. Which is the big celebration this year and why everything is Jane Austen right
Jane
now.
Jane Austen.
Which I have not had any sadness about that at all. I've enjoyed the heck out of it.
Yes. On the bookshelf, we have a book that I did not bring into my recording room here with me. That is Square Foot Gardening, 4th edition. So we'll talk generally about square foot gardening and is it the right thing for you? And there are obviously now 4 editions of that classic gardening book.
Yeah, that book is amazing and has been out forever and ever and ever.
And I have the first edition here somewhere. It was Mel Bartholomew, and he had that PBS station had a show. Square Foot Gardening. And basically, it really fits in with today's raised bed gardening, the way
it does.
And so
it's also the French intensive style. I mean, that's all square foot gardening is, but okay.
But it's for people who are like, some people are very concerned about spacing and too much room, not enough room. And so he kind of laid out exactly what spacing everything needed. So you could set a grid up on your raised beds if it was perfect squares. And like a tomato, trying to think, a pepper plant might take 1 square foot. You could get maybe at 12 or 9. Don't quote me on this, people, because I don't have the book in front of me. 12 or 9 radishes in a square foot. If you didn't want to waste any seed or any space, this is the way to do it.
It's a grid.
It's a grid system. And you can buy those grids. You can make those grids.
You can do it with string. Lots of people do it that way. I mean, there's a whole lot of ways that you can do it. But it's a great book. It simplifies French intensive gardening, and it's good for raised beds, especially raised beds that are square like mine or that are oblong. I mean, it's just pretty easy.
And so I would recommend it to anybody that is new at gardening. And it was revolutionary at the time, especially in the United States, because people would think about, planting a big
Just
row.
long rows.
Long
They just
rows.
did
My
long
dad,
rows.
he just grew everything in long rows. So this was like, hey, you don't have to have that big long row gardening. You can set up this thing and showed how you have a 4x4 garden, 4 feet by 4 feet. You can actually grow quite a bit of stuff in there. So
you can grow a lot in a 4x4. I have 6 4x4 gardens, and you can grow a lot.
yes. So anyway, that's Square Foot Gardening, the 4th edition. And at this point, Mel Bartholomew has sadly passed away, but there's a Square Foot Gardening Foundation, and they are the ones that put out new copies of these books. But they also answer questions about pest management. They answer questions about what soil should you use if you're building up raised beds with soil, all those kinds of good things. Anyway, we recommend it.
I'll do the next quote. My eye is educated to discover anything on the ground as chestnuts, etc. It is probably wholesomer to look at the ground much than at the heavens. Good grief, Henry David Thoreau. That was really hard to read.
Well, it was
written like this.
The 19th century writing kind of, you have to get used to it.
Gracious.
I picked that quote for you, Dee, because of the last line.
Because I don't like the heavens that much.
You like, yeah. And that's why I thought, this not only is it a
I do like the moon, though. Bill and I were talking about that because it was the supermoon, right?
Yes, it was. The last one forever, but it was beautiful.
Thursday night. It was gorgeous. And Bill goes, Dee, it's the supermoon. And I went running to the door, and I said, there's the supermoon. And I turned around and I looked at him and I said, I do like the moon. And he goes, I know you do. I said, I really don't like all that other stuff.
Anyway, for our dirt and keeping with the season.
Yes.
Because one of our most listened to episodes was chestnuts roasting on an open fire, which I have no idea what we even talked about, Dee.
We probably talked about American chestnuts versus European ones. But
probably.
And we probably talked about Portugal because I had chestnuts in Portugal.
That's true. So the American chestnut, as everybody probably knows ad infinitum, that an exotic pest from Asia, the chestnut blight decimated almost all the American chestnuts about 100 years ago. And according to this article, 200 million acres from Maine to Georgia, as far west as Mississippi, were covered with American chestnuts. And so there are people that are working to restore the American chestnut, to find tree lines that are resistant to that blight.
And there are some.
Yes. And
that's the other part of this article, because I've read it. The other part of it is there are some hidden trees. And some of these groups don't tell people where the trees are because they don't want anything to happen to them. And and they're using them to try to they're trying to breed better chestnuts so we can have American chestnuts again.
That's right. Anyway,
That's really cool.
I thought that was of the season and all those good things.
You know why I think that episode is really popular? Because it's from the song.
Probably. Should I name this episode after a song?
I think we should name a song. Yeah.
The Holly and the Ivy.
That would be great.
We didn't talk about ivy. That's another plant. Nobody grows ivy.
But we did talk about wisteria, which has got a vine, it's vining. So that works.
That's true. I'm going to do a quote. We can go to the rabbit holes. Sing all ye joyful, now sing all together. The wind's in the treetop, the wind's in the heather. The stars are in blossom, the moon is in flower, and bright are the windows of night in her tower. J.R.R. Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was nice.
And our rabbit holes, I don't have one this week, but you do, and it's really long. So why don't you tell us about it?
Well, I have like 3 rabbit holes, Dee.
I know. I don't have one. I'm sorry.
Well, the first one was really boring. I've just sorting out technical issues I have like 4 website domains, and I finally have them all with one domain provider. So that's
good.
That makes it easier to manage them. That was kind of boring work. Trying to download all of my books from my Kindle to a list so I can see what I have.
Okay.
That I could print.
Because you were into technology this week.
Yeah, but what
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did your iPhone update? Because mine did automatically. And it's like Screwy Louie now. I mean, it's so different than it's the new iOS, and
I don't think it's updated, but my phone is an iPhone 11, so it is very old, and it may be
it may not do it because it may ask you if, mine's a 13, I think. Anyway, aren't we to 15s now?
17.
I'm really far behind,
I think 17.
Yeah, something like that.
Anyway,
okay,
the reason that I was trying to get a list of all the books on my Kindle was. So I read that book, Near Neighbors, that we have the first quote from. And I found out through some odd coincidences of different Substacks that I subscribed to about women writing and all that, that type of book is called a middlebrow book.
Uh-huh.
And they're not like,
It's not highbrow.
it's not like high literature or whatever, but they're just cozy reads. Cozy reads without mysteries, and no matter what happens, happy ending.
Yeah.
So I that's what happened. And I found one that I wanted to get.
Okay.
And then when I went over to Amazon to buy it, and I decided I would just get it on my Kindle,
Uh-huh.
came back and says, "Hey, Carol, you already own this book on your Kindle." I'm like, "Oh, I don't think I've read it."
That's what made you decide to okay, I got it.
But so you don't see them like, I see all the books behind me, and I have my physical books recorded in a catalog on my phone, so I can go look.
Right.
And try to remember to go look before I buy yet another book. So anyway, that was that. And then,
okay. Anything else?
I'm continuing to read the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon. I just finished 5, which took me through December. And I briefly thought when I got to December in the journals, maybe I should just read a journal page a day to correspond with the date. And I thought, no, I'll just rip through this. But the funny thing was, oh my gosh, Dee, and I don't want to give away a spoiler. So if somebody's thinking, I'm going to read these, you might skip ahead. In November, Emma hosted a funeral for a sweet pea.
Oh, how cute.
One of the many men who would love to marry Emma Lyon, she has like all these different men in her lives, shows up at her door distraught because he loves sweet peas, and he had left his estate, and someone had left the window open on the greenhouse and froze out his beloved sweet pea.
Well, if you've ever grown, they're not super easy when you're trying to bring them.
Yeah, and he was growing it in November, and so he was wanting to have a funeral for it, but none of his friends thought that was done
appropriate.
And she said she would help him organize a funeral for the sweet pea. So you just never know when you're reading these books, Dee, what kind of weird, quirky little things.
No, you don't. You sure don't.
So the end of spoiler alert. That is all I've got.
Can I tell a funny story about Maddie and my game that I've been playing?
Yes, you can.
My granddaughter. Okay.
We're going to have a special section now called Dee's Game Update.
So in my game, I have my basic game, and then I have a farm. Enough said. Maddie, I had my phone open to my farm so that I could put a shield on it before I went to bed. And Maddie picked it up. And in a matter of like 2 minutes, because she does know how to play certain things, she had gotten out of the base and sent trucks and hit not only a player in my alliance, she hit him, and then she hit the one in the other alliance. And all of a sudden, I have a very upset German man on my phone messaging me going, "What were you doing? Why would you do such a thing?" And I said, "Oh, that wasn't me. That was my granddaughter." And she picked up my phone. He goes, "You should be more careful." Germans are very cranky sometimes.
Oh, yeah. You mess with their trucks and the alliance or whatever, and you're going to be in trouble.
It was his base. But it was funny because they're such little trucks on the farm because it's tiny. And so it hurt them. I said, "You didn't even get hurt. My stuff got hurt." And I said, "I'm really sorry if you need to hit my farm." But then by the end of it, he decided that I was fine. And it asked if I'd ever visited Germany. But I was like, "Maddie, we need to download a special game for you to play when you're at Gigi's house."
Or Maddie, we need to have you not touch Gigi's phone. I will put a game on my iPad. So anytime
I did. That's exactly what I did. I put a game on my iPad, which ended up costing me money. But we're going to move on to garden commissions now. Mine is to plant the amaryllises that have been sitting in the box for a week in my blue and white container. I went and bought all the stuff for it today on the way home from church and do a little video of how to do it, which it's easy to do, but people like these videos.
They do. And so I would just like to remind our listeners that I had predicted last week that the amaryllis would be like the the garlic that you would not get them planted last week as you had planned, that it would
No.
take a while. But if you've got the soil and you've got the pots and you're going to do a video,
And I've got the rocks to put on top too.
you are good to go.
I am
await
good
the
to go.
video.
I mean,
Will
I
it
was
come out?
busy.
Will the video come out before or after the podcast?
If I get it done today, it'll come out tomorrow or this afternoon.
Very good.
It'll be on Instagram pretty quickly if I get it done. Bill's supposed to film it for me.
There you go.
I need some ideas for videos, which we can talk about after we're done. All right, that's mine. What is yours? I'm going to water my plants.
Yeah, I need to
Okay.
walk the fence lines again, assess the lawn issues that the workers have. And I know my neighbor on the one side, I was out talking to him for a few minutes. He was cleaning up because he gets the raccoons come up to his front porch because he puts food for the feral cat up there. So he's constantly having to clean up his front porch. But he said, I said, I'm going to, I pulled out one big piece that had a nail sticking. I'm like, I'm glad I found that. But anyway, I said, this spring I'll come along here and we'll sow some grass seed. And he says, don't worry about it till spring. He wondered if we could cut some little windows out for like the feral cat to go through and for the raccoons to go back and forth.
No.
Because the old fence, they had figured out places they could go under it. And so the cat can go over, the raccoons can. And I'm like, no, hadn't planned to cut a hole.
No.
But,
brand new fence? I don't think so.
No, sometime, they'll figure it out. I'm not worried about it.
I mean, they're pretty resourceful creatures. They'll figure it out.
I did ask the fence guys, did you rustle up any rabbits or raccoons sleeping out here under the shrubs or anything? He said they hadn't seen anything. So I'm like, okay. Because I always assume that they're all sleeping out there under everything.
Maybe not.
Anyway, but after I do that, I got to water and tend to house plants. And of course, I'm looking for the perfect poinsettia to buy.
Excuse me. I've been looking for poinsettias too. And I noticed that at Lowe's, they had tons of amaryllises and they're blooming up out of the boxes because, they got too warm.
Yeah. And they usually have, that's where I used to buy waxed amaryllis.
Yeah.
To give as Christmas. And now I tell everybody, look, you can buy a box of 3 of them over at Costco for $21.99. Get those. I am not, Carol's out of the gifting of the waxed amaryllis.
Yeah. If you want one, go buy it. Okay. You want to do the We Do Not Care?
We do not care if your Christmas tree is real or fake.
Yeah.
As long as you enjoy it.
Yeah, we don't care. Let's wrap this up.
Okay. Thank you for listening to The Garden Angelist. We publish every week on Wednesdays at 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Be sure and follow us on the Apple Podcast. That helps us get noticed by others.
Oh, and if you subscribe to our Substack newsletter, you get a link to listen to the podcast a whole day early and links to the products we discuss. Plus, you can go over to YouTube and see us in person.
Ta-da!
Full episodes show up on Tuesdays. So if you can't wait until Wednesday, you now have 2 ways to get the episodes on Tuesdays.
If you want to help support us, use our affiliate links. If you buy something after clicking through on them, we earn a small commission and it costs you nothing. Plus, I'd like to ad-lib something in here if I might, Dee.
Yes.
If you could hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, we'd like to get up over 500 subscribers. Last I checked, we were at 208, but we'd like to get over, even if you never watch us over there.
Yeah, if you subscribe.
Just go over there and hit the subscribe and hit like on one of the videos. That's all we ask.
That really helps us. Or you can set up a monthly subscription through Buzzsprout, or you can make a one-time donation through PayPal. You also have the option of pledging your support on Substack. We give you so many ways to help us.
Thank you to everyone who has helped us. It does help. It does help pay for podcast hosting.
It was lovely to chat with all of you over the Garden Gate. Bye until next week.
Goodbye, everybody.